What's going on, everyone? So the offseason has officially begun for the Los Angeles Lakers as they prepare for the upcoming draft and begin to work out several players. This will only be the first stage. They will very likely start working out and continue to work out several more. Now, there is the possibility that the Lakers trade their draft picks, but in the meantime, they have to do their due diligence and find players. They have the number 17th pick and the number 47th pick in this draft, which is next month, which will be here quicker than you even think. And based on what Dave McMenamin has said, the Lakers have started draft workouts to prepare for the number 17 and number 47 pick they have next month. Friday's workouts include Kia Clark from Virginia, Chris Livingston from Kentucky, Leonard Miller from the Ignite, Adam Flagler from Baylor, Maxwell Lewis from Pepperdine, and Dayron Holmes II from Dayton. Now, some of you may be familiar with these guys, some of you may not, but let's go through each of these prospects and kind of give you an idea of what to expect. And we'll start with Kia Clark. Now, he is a 23-year-old, older in age, very likely would be a second-round pick type player. This isn't a guy that they would use with their 17th pick. He's a bit undersized at 5'10", about 167 pounds. He's a guy that is just what the Lakers have looked for over the years, just a solid sort of veteran-style college player that comes from a pristine university, from Virginia, hard-nosed, senior-type player. The Lakers really like those guys in the second round specifically. Think of a lot of the guys that we've got. I mean, Austin Reeves, yes, he was undrafted, but a very, college player that played pretty much all 4 years and came in at an older age compared to, say, a 19-year-old kid that they're trying to maybe develop. Think of like a Max Christie, right? So, again, he's a guy that nothing super standout-ish. As far as his most recent year, his senior year, he did take some strides. He was 35% from three and 40% from the field in 33 minutes per game. Gave about 11 points. He's a guy that, again, he's not going to do too much. He's not going to stand out too much, but he's a guy that can just kind of come in and stabilize the Lakers front. You got to keep in mind that some of these guys are just going to be guys solely just for workouts. Just to kind of get a feel, see what's out there. Doesn't necessarily mean that Clark will be drafted by the Lakers with the 47th pick or anything like that. The Lakers will probably try out 100 different players over the course. Clark is a guy that, personally, I wouldn't expect to end up getting drafted. Now, our scouting department is, in my opinion, one of the best, if not the best. I guess you can make an argument for Miami, right? Because they got like 7 undrafted guys, and they're a win away from the NBA Finals. But the Lakers are definitely up there. They have proven time and time again to be able to find those kind of diamonds in the roughs. Also, Clark is a guy that the Lakers could end up maybe signing if he goes undrafted. Something else you got to keep in mind. But personally, if it's me, I'd probably like to stick with Pippen Jr. over Clark. Just kind of my thoughts. I don't think he's really going to be a future Laker unless it's an undrafted signing, maybe bring in for a summer league type thing. But beyond that, next up, again, we'll go in order with the list, is Chris Livingston. Now, he's an interesting prospect from Kentucky. Again, prestigious school, 19 years old, 6'6". So he's a shooting guard, small forward type guy. He's a guy that I think could come in and kind of provide some solid upside, but beyond the upside, a guy that just has some decent stability, a guy that, again, has played for a prominent coach, a guy who shot 43% from the field. Shooting the three was a little rough this year, 30.5%, so not some lights-out three-point shooter. His stats aren't going to completely jump out to you, but he's a guy that has the tools and intangibles to translate well into the NBA and have some success. Again, good, solid size, 6'6", 220 pounds. Not really likely a star type guy. He would be more of like a role player, a rotation guy, but you also never know, right? You never know. You see a lot of guys that kind of come in that are you think are just, this is going to be a guy that, maybe is like a solid, maybe at best blue chip rotation guy, and they actually turn out to be like some real stud that you're like, wait a minute, hold up, timeout. Again, not super high on him. Our next workout, I actually am, and that is Leonard Miller. He's already played with the G League Ignite. He's 19 years old, 6'10" height. He's a guy that, if he's kind of that like shooting for the stars type player, right? He's a guy that 6'10", 211 pounds, so he's got a thin frame, but he's got like a 7'2" wingspan. He's guy, again, doesn't really jump out as far as the stats go. Not a guy that's really going to like jump out at the page, but he is actually a first round projection. He is supposed to fall somewhere in like basically the Lakers range, 15 to 20. But he is one of those guys that you kind of look at and you go, man, he has the abilities to be a solid, just all around ball player, right? He's a guy that can catch the ball off the rebound, take it down the court in transition, a guy that can do a little bit of playmaking, guy that can potentially score at all three levels. Again, not a guy that is super concrete, right? Now, scoring-wise, he shot about 1.39 points per shot, which puts him in the 95th percentile. His jumpers were 0.81%, which puts him in the 67th percentile. So he's got the tools to be a great offensive player and a great defensive player, a guy that can play both sides of the ball. He's got the length and size. He's not a guy that you really would probably play at the center. You get some guys that's like, okay, well, he's like a power forward center. No, he's probably closer to like a Michael Porter Jr. type guy, where he's probably playing either the 3 or the 4 in spots. Maybe in some small ball lineups, maybe you could throw him in at like a 5, but he's more going to be perimeter oriented. But he really does have the intangibles to potentially be one of those, like, you look back and you're like, man, he might be the best player in this draft, or one of the, maybe not better than Victor Wembanyama and stuff, but he could be up there as like, when you're looking at the list and you're going through the list and you're like who are the top 5 players? Miller could be that guy. He really could. But next up is Adam Flagler. Again, another just solid, experienced, veteran style, college player, right? 23 years old, a guy that can come in and kind of bring some stability, 6'3" guard, can kind of play both guard positions. Not somebody that I'm super pumped about, right? Again, a guy that probably is getting drafted in the second round or going undrafted, but he did shoot 40% from 3 in college and shot 43% overall from the field. He did contribute to just under 16 points per game. Hard nose, solid on both sides of the ball, but just a guy that I think he'll be there later on, right? Maybe somebody you look at with the 47th pick, or maybe even look to maybe buy a pick if it's somebody that you really like. Definitely not somebody that I see the Lakers taking with the 17th pick. I just don't see that being the case. But I think he is a guy that could be a solid contributor, again, on both sides of the ball. Could kind of be that solid sort of playmaker off the bench, and maybe even develop into your starting point guard at some point. But again, not a guy that really is going to stand out and jump out on the page. Not really too much to talk about, because I don't think the Lakers are actually going to draft him. But moving on, next up is Maxwell Lewis from Pepperdine. Now, he is a guy who could play both forward spots. He's a guy that averaged about 11 points per game, and he's a guy that is a sophomore, 6'7". He's got some good length, some good size. Again, not some huge standouter, right? But he did improve tremendously from year 1 to year 2. He gave about 17 and a half points on 35% from three, but 47% from the field in general. He didn't take a ton of threes per game, but he's a solid quality shooter, a good sort of versatile forward. Again, not really a guy that I think would make huge strides as far as like star potential. But I do think he's a guy that could kind of come in and kind of be that round, that blue chip, maybe rotation guy. You know, your starting small forward on this team. He's from Las Vegas, so he's a Vegas guy. I live in Vegas now, so maybe there's something there. But again, he's a guy that would be a solid contributor. He is also a guy that may be able to come in and actually make an impact immediately. He's a guy that could come in and possibly, give some quality minutes as even just a rookie. But nothing super, nothing that I would say like, okay, like this is a guy that immediately comes in and is your starting small forward or anything like that. I don't think that is going to be the case, but I do think he is a guy that could come in at 20 years old and kind of be a nice development piece for the Lakers. And I could see him definitely getting some run, getting some rotation. I think Max Christie is a guy that could come in and do that. And if you could get, like a Max Christie, hard-nosed defensive guy, Maxwell is a guy that could come in and play some solid defense, be kind of a two-way player. His offensive output definitely needs some work, in my opinion, but I think he's a guy that could be pretty close to a quality immediate addition. And then Dayron Holmes, 20 years old, 6'10", guy that, again, is kind of that high reward type guy, a guy that you'd kind of bring in and take a chance on. Now, he was solid for Daytona Flyers, or Dayton Flyers. I don't know why I said Daytona. Dayton Flyers. He came in 32% from three, but almost 60% from the field and contributed to 18.4 points. He was a guy that was a closer a lot for them down the stretch. He was the guy that they were putting the ball in his hands, and he was averaging about 2 assists per game. He's giving you basically almost 20-10 per game. He was giving you 18.5 and 8 rebounds with 2 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal. So a guy that could play both sides of the ball. Again, high upside type guy, sophomore. So he has a little bit more experience. I don't see him being the 17th pick. I just don't. I think he could definitely be the 47th pick. I wouldn't hate that at all. Like if the Lakers if he ends up falling to 47th, I wouldn't hate that at all. Now where Leonard Miller, I could see Leonard Miller being the 17th pick, right? Same kind of tools, same kind of intangibles. I think Dayron is a guy that with our 47th pick, you could bring him in, a nice little versatile 6'10" guy that can play power forward. I don't really think you'd play him at center much. Maybe you could develop him into a center if he bulks up a little bit, especially in today's modern NBA, where Miller, he's more, in my opinion, perimeter oriented. But having 2 6'10" guys that are versatile, that can do multiple things, handle the ball a little bit, make plays, that's kind of where the NBA is, right? And so I would, if we ended up drafting Miller at 17 and then Dayron at 47th, I think that would be a successful draft. I would actually genuinely be pumped about something like that. So again, these are guys just to look out for. Jesse Buss and the scouting team and department are definitely going to have their work cut out for them. As they bring in all of these prospects. I still wouldn't be shocked if the Lakers end up trading the pick, but you gotta do the diligence. If I'm being honest, I don't think anybody outside of maybe Leonard Miller. I guess I'd add Dayron Holmes up there with the 47th pick, but outside of that, I don't really see the Lakers drafting anybody. I don't think they give a real look at Clark, Livingston. Maxwell Lewis is interesting to me, in my opinion. Maxwell Lewis, I think, again, he could be a guy that could come in and maybe be a solid contributor right away. He has some nice tools, some nice intangibles, especially on the defensive end. But I think really out of this first wave, my guess is Leonard Miller and then Dayron Holmes kind of following suit. But anyways, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Do you like any of these guys? Do you think any of these guys would be quality pieces to add to the Lakers roster? Is there anybody specific that you'd want them to bring in with the 17th pick or the 47th pick? Again, Lakers have other guys projected. Some of the projections is like, Jet Howard, I've seen thrown around a lot for the 17th pick, which I don't think would be a bad option either. But most of these guys, like I said, Miller is projected, I believe, as the 21st pick. Lewis is projected at the 27th pick, and then Holmes is projected at the 50th pick, and then Clark, Livingston, and Flagler were basically undrafted guys in a lot of the mocks, which were just kind of notes that I took down and just kind of give you an idea of what the experts are looking at this as. But anyway, love to hear your thoughts, opinions. Let me know however you feel down